are listening to the Moody Girl podcast with me, Emily Fazer. I'll be opening the minds of experts, enthusiasts, and storytellers, discovering their secrets on health and how to make the most out of life. Okay, so welcome to the first ever Moody Girl podcast where we are doing it in person. And today I'm with Greta. How are you?
I'm so good, thank you.
Good. So for anyone looking, you might think this doesn't look like the UK. You would be right. We are sat in Puglia, Italy, which is the heel of the boot and somewhere that my husband and I have fallen in love with and somewhere that Greta is living full time. So we wanted to kind of discuss more about Puglia, more about your story. I came across you on social media because I was interested in people that were in Puglia and living lives that looked amazing, but also doing really amazing work at the same time. So
Thank you.
I can see that you focus a lot on mindset work. You've got Kundalini yoga in there. There's also some spirituality as well. So all of these things I'm super fascinated in. And I just really wanted to find out more about your story. So how did you end up doing what you're doing and being in Puglia?
Thank you so much. I love these questions. How did I end up in Puglia? I was looking for maybe my entire life, but really intentionally the last 3 years for my place. And with my place, I mean, I've been living and working all over the world, from Singapore to New York to Germany, the Netherlands. And I was really looking for that place that made me feel home and whole, where I felt this is where I want to settle down. So after years of digital nomading and having built my life, a lifestyle around my business and my purpose that allowed me to work independently from anywhere, I was roaming around the world. And when I came to Puglia for the first time 3 years ago, I just fell in love. Like, it was an instant moment of, this is it, here it is. It was magic and love at first sight. And then I was still traveling and moving around, and I also went through Portugal. And I remember I was in Mexico, literally on a beach, and thinking by myself, okay, where do I go next? What do I do? And I had this call from Puglia. Like, Puglia popped up in that moment in my mind and was like, that's where you gotta go and be, girl.
Wow.
And so literally I just followed that voice.
Ah, so cool. Yeah. And I mean, when you first, made that initial, I guess, move here, how was that? Was it nerve-wracking? Were you, in terms of, because I think for anyone at home who may be thinking about, moving country, it's quite a daunting thing.
Yeah.
And it can feel quite isolating if you don't know the language. And as I actually found out just as you arrived, you are Italians.
I am.
So that wasn't too much of an issue for you.
Yeah, so the language definitely helped. Being able to communicate with people in their own language just gives you this extra connection. But generally, if you're an open-minded person and if you're curious and willing to really learn about the place and the people, I would say there's no limit, and it's not going to be difficult. However, I will say that I did encounter challenges and difficulties, and you do. I learned a lot about, but I took the first year, so last year, to observe, to learn, before diving straight into, setting something up or building my business further here. I was really like, okay, let me arrive, let me observe and see. Yeah, and that really allowed me to learn about the way people move, speak, do business, with whom I would want to engage and work with whom maybe not, just building networks and connections and learning the local people and also people from abroad.
I think that's important, and that's something that we're kind of learning the more we're out here, is everything takes time, and that's actually something that I guess in the UK in particular, we're kind of encouraged to like be, you know, constantly moving through life so quickly. So like, okay, what are you going to do next? Okay, what else is on the to-do list? What can you do next? What can you do next? Okay, we've got this. Okay, we're going to get that next. Where do we go? And, you know,
not just in the UK.
Not just in the UK. Yeah, exactly. But that's just seems as though it can weigh quite heavy on a lot of society. And that's where burnout ends up happening. So yeah, I think it's actually an important lesson, and I think anyone and everyone can learn from, you know, I guess going to a new place and not having the comforts that we're so used to, and stepping out of that comfort zone, because then it really, you start to grow and learn more about who you are deep down, which I think is so important. And yeah, I think that's a really refreshing take on it, that actually you took that year to digest, figure it out, and not make any rash decisions.
Yes. It wasn't easy because I'm moving very quickly and I'm very entrepreneurial, so I see opportunities everywhere, and then I love to act on them and make things happen. So it was like a test to, you know, like slow down and go with con I piedi per terra, you say in Italian, like really in a grounded way, but it paid off, and I'm very grateful that I went slow pace, which is really what Puglia teaches us as well. Even if you wanted to move things quickly, they won't. They don't. They have their own time, and you cannot force, and that just puts light on the energy, which is so much what I work with as well in my work, that it's enough to have the intention, you know, it's enough to show up and follow your dream and follow that vision, and trust that things fall into place, and trust that the right people will come and that you attract them. And so it's so much more, I feel the energy is very amplifying here and can be very catalyzing. So it's ever more important to be clear and clear intended, because you might otherwise might just go into off path into a different direction.
That's a really interesting point. So I mean, with the kind of work that you're doing, if you could describe to myself and the audience, the listeners at home, what does, you know, when someone comes to you and they want your help, what does that usually look like? What are you looking at when you have conversations with them? How are you helping people?
Thank you for this question. I always like to ask the question, what are you most excited about in your life or in your business? So my work is centered around life and business. My background is in entrepreneurship. I've started several companies. I've worked in startups. I've built teams. But I also worked in multinational companies and the corporate world before starting my freedom lifestyle. And so I know also the struggles and the pains we undergo, and that is my story of really wanting to break out and liberate myself from this endless pressure of performing in a corporate world, and literally working for purposeless, meaningless companies or for somebody else. So this is where I help people. It's very holistic, my approach, and you can be in a corporate and dreaming about, you know, having a different lifestyle, and I would help you step by step find an exit strategy, or you have a dream, you know, you have maybe many ideas about your own business but don't really know where to get started, what to do first, which idea to follow through. And so it's really a holistic process of, you know, supporting you in your transformation of where you dream of being from where you are.
I think that sounds incredible. I think so many people will relate to having an idea but not knowing quite how to make that happen, and then life gets in the way, bills need to be paid, mortgages need to be paid, and the cost of everything going up is adding this. I feel like even more than ever that people are shackled to the jobs, you know, to living this 9 to 5, you know, non-existent, the complete opposite of a digital nomad. And I can see how that really does take its toll. So I think there's more than ever right now, there's so much need for people like you doing the work that you're doing. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
So if you were going to, I know it's a really holistic approach, but what would be, I guess, your 5, if you've got 5 or maybe 3 top tips for anyone who's got an idea and they've kind of been sitting on an idea for a really long time. They've told people about it, maybe after a few drinks, and they're a bit more confident. And they say, do you know what? I've got a really brilliant idea. What do you think? And so, everyone's like, yeah, fantastic, but they just don't do anything about it. What would be your, advice to those people?
Oh, I love that question. So first of all, I would say you're doing already amazing by sharing your idea with others. That's always a very nurturing way of getting feedback, of seeing and hearing how it lands with people. And the more you speak and the more you articulate your idea, the more you experience yourself speaking about it, and you hear, so listen how you rephrase, how you speak about it. Every conversation, everyone that you share it with can add a little piece or can answer some of your questions and doubts. So really go out and do this real market research by sharing and speaking yourself literally into the idea. Secondly, I would say one of my favorite approaches to creating or manifesting anything is the reverse engineering process. So just imagine yourself 5 years from now or 10 years from now, what would be your ideal scenario, the ideal completed version, the most ideal imaginable. And this is one of the hardest things for people to do. This is where I also support my clients in really opening their minds and letting in the abundance mindset, and anything is possible. So just for an exercise, try to really go wild and dream big. Like dream the unimaginable. It can be as ridiculous and it might sound impossible to you, but just do it for fun, for the exercise. And then third, I would recommend reverse engineer. So if that is the big vision, what is the first small step that you can take today and tomorrow that gets you a little bit closer to that scenario? That follows then with the 4th advice. Reach out for people, reach out for help, connect with people that are already there. Invite people to, give their feedback. Just try to learn as much as possible about the area or around the industry or in the field that you're intending to go towards.
That's amazing advice. I hope you all benefit from that at home. I did here. So, I mean, entrepreneurship. So do you think everyone has it in them, or do you think it's just a certain amount of people that can do it?
Ooh, I love this question, and I think it's definitely a trait that everybody can train. We are all creative, and entrepreneurship comes down to being creative and creating. So putting an idea into practice, whether you create it with your hands or whether you create it with your mind, everybody has the entrepreneurial capacity. We have just unlearned or forgotten it because the way we've been raised, the way educational systems are, school is not learning us to be creative and outside of the box, but it's more like, okay, fit into this scheme, this path that we want you to go, that you then fit into society, can be productive citizen.
I agree 100%. I mean, if you think about it, we start school fitting into boxes, and then we can do art, but it's like within that box, and drama within that box, Shakespeare time and time again. And then we go to, it's basically training us up to then live that 9 to 5, and be compliant for the rest of our lives. And it's only when people are, as we said earlier, getting burnt out, reaching their breaking point, becoming very depressed, having to get antidepressants, all these different things, and they're starting to question, actually, where did it all go wrong? Yes. And we were literally having this discussion over dinner the other day about how when you're a child, you kind of instantly gravitated towards something creative, whether that was crafting, whether it was playing with Play-Doh, maybe it was colouring, maybe it was building a den. All of these things that gave you energy and lit you up as a child. And mine was singing, drama, acting, piano. I loved all of that, and I gave it all up because I wanted to fit in with what my friends were doing on the weekends, which was hanging out with boys, drinking, all of these things, and kind of went down a different path to where I could have done. And you kind of forget about all those things that you loved as a child, and actually just touching base with those again. They're still there. Your inner child is still there. It's just waiting for you to listen to it again.
That's beautiful. That's a very good advice that you just gave. I would say, for really, if you are rock bottom and just feel there's nothing that makes you happy, nothing that excites you, you just feel like not lit up, but like, you know, totally down. Really try to connect to that thing that brings you joy, and usually it's something that we do with our hands or with our bodies.
Yeah, totally.
For me, it's dancing.
Oh,
I was like the happiest dance kid, and I still am. Like, I just become so happy when I dance, and you know, just remember that happy child inside of you. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
And I was actually it's another guest I've got coming up, but it was a questionnaire I needed to fill in, and one of the questions she asked was like, when's the last time you really laughed? And I was like, oh my God, that's such a good question. Like holding your stomach, laughing. It was actually the other day when Christian, my husband, in Puglia, and Christian was kind of coming out of the house, and he like slid up on this thing, and I was looking from the car, and he didn't think I could see, and I was just fully like,
it was slippery.
And it was so good, and I just thought, oh, I haven't done that for bloody ages. I needed that.
Well, yeah, let's be honest, like the last couple of years weren't really much to laugh about.
Yeah, it was so heavy, and you know, everyone was going through something, and still people kind of are. I mean, in the UK especially, last year was like the year of the Great Resignation, because people had, although COVID was really heavy and so stressful, and like from a mental capacity it was super hard, but also it turned people inwards and made them question the lives that they were living pre-COVID. And then when you come back, it was like, oh yeah, we're back to normal. And you can't, I just think as humans we can't do that.
No.
And so that's why I think there's this mass of resignations and work culture. People are reviewing work cultures extensively, which I'm a huge supporter of. But yeah, so anyway, something else I wanted to talk to you about is manifestation.
May
as
I
well.
just because I think you just touched something super important, that don't put this pressure on yourself having to go back to normal. Like, why would we even want to go back to normal? Where were you? What was normal? I don't want normal. This is not normal. And look, this is beautiful.
Yeah, so true.
No, this is not normal.
I know.
We're sitting here like listening to the birds and watching the blue sky and smelling fresh air and having a kumquat in your backyard.
Yeah,
this is your new normal now, right?
Yeah.
And it's by choice and by intention. So what I want to say, like, really allow yourself to digest these 2 heavy years, because we've just been waiting to get out of it so that we can get back to normal, but it's been traumatizing. And when we are in extreme and emergency states, as humans, inherently animals, we try to survive. So basically we've been in survival mode for 2 years, which means only now we can really start to process it and digest it and take a breath and really also be like, okay, what did this do with me? How do I feel today, right? Let these emotions come so we can transmute them and really emerge into something that we choose intentionally. It's an amazing time to really start afresh and start new.
I love that.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I was going to speak to you more about manifestation, about something we've been looking into, and I've been looking into a lot, is a lack mindset, and I'm trying to do abundance meditations and really kind of, I guess, surrendering to the possibility that there really is an abundance of everything if we just let it into our lives. And ever since I've started that, you know, this time, so we've got a date coming up, April 19th. We started a manifestation board. and on that manifestation board was a house in Puglia, was all of these different things, was, you know, podcasting outside, meeting new people, hanging out with Italians. I mean, tick, tick, tick so far, people.
Wow, amazing. Isn't that beautiful?
I mean, you know, we've got a dinner coming up where we're going to celebrate and toast it and say, you know what, we've made this happen. There's still some things we're working on. But actually, like, switching the brain and the mindset to stop thinking with lack and start opening up to abundance has been a huge game changer. Can you talk to us more about your thoughts on that, how it's affected your life, and whether it's something that you practice?
Absolutely. First of all, I'm so happy, and I celebrate you, and congratulate you for having manifested your vision board. And maybe you've heard of vision boards before, but they really work. And so you don't necessarily have to, you know, put it on a piece of paper. There's Pinterest, but I certainly engage with a manifestation on a single and everyday basis. And what you can do, what it is really connect with that feeling that this vision board or this ideal situation gives you. Like, what does it trigger when you think about that? And that is how you manifest. It is already embodying the feeling of the desired state, whether that is the business, the dream business, or the dream relationship, or the dream life, or the dream house, whatever it is. Really visualize it, and in manifestation, or just by sitting, or just by drawing, or by cutting out pictures. There's so many ways to accelerate the manifestation process. And I'm a super fan, and I teach a lot about this. And yes, abundance mindset is key. It's really this belief, and it's the hardest work to do on yourself. Is really more than one thing is visualizing it, and the other thing is going deeper into what are your blocks. So what beliefs do you believe on a daily basis, sometimes subconsciously, and you're not even aware of it, that block you from that bigger vision? Like, why do you think it's not possible? What are you scared of? What feels triggering? These are uncomfortable feelings and situations and emotions that might come up, but it's really that work that will break you free from the limitations and allow the manifestation to come into your life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, definitely. I think with us, what we found quite useful as well is we did a little bit of, we went to bed like listening to cafe sounds in Italy, things like that. And it was like ciao and all these. We're
That's
going
amazing.
I know, and it really, and we started to like even like make a cup of coffee whilst listening to it, smelling it, and be like, okay, we're in Italy, and like really trying.
So cool. And you did that together?
Yeah, we did it. I mean, yeah, this is for the audience. Christian, my husband, does all the editing, and yeah, so we very much are kind of decided to change things together, and it really has. It's done wonders for our relationship, and just moving on that, you know, trajectory together has been really kind of magical and special. And so yeah,
very inspiring.
Oh, thank you. So Kundalini yoga, I have spoke to a really amazing yoga teacher on one of the shows, met him in Jamaica. We were in a really bad headspace that day, loads of stuff was going wrong. Did this yoga session, came out, was just like, okay, great, today's going to be good, you know? So I've got an affinity with yoga, and I really want to invest more time on my body, on, you know, becoming more flexible and making sure that I can live for as long as possible. What is Kundalini yoga?
Yes. First, Kundalini yoga is there's so many ways to describe it, but it definitely works on longevity and your vitality. We talk about the Kundalini energy, which is often represented as a dormant snake, like curled up, which represents our life force that each and every one of us has inside. And Kundalini yoga is the practice that awakens this life force within us, so that we feel alive, that we feel we are powerful, that we feel aligned. And so it is a very complete practice that understands our human body as having 10 bodies, 10 different bodies, 3 mental bodies, 1 physical body, of course, the body, and the rest are energetic bodies. Wow. And we are working on all of them through a Kundalini session, which you can imagine, it's very transformative. And it's, I would say, it's a very fast transportation system, the fastest transportation system there is for transformation, meaning getting you from the state A into a state B. So let's say you feel really down after an hour of Kundalini session, or even after just a couple of minutes of some specific meditations, you can be in a complete different headspace. Wow. And that's what's so transformative and powerful, and why I love it.
How did you discover it yourself?
I was really intentionally calling it in. I remember it was December 2018, the year I started my entrepreneurial career, and I've been practicing yoga by then for 8 years. And I was calling in a deeper spiritual experience. And I was like, I have no idea what that's going to be and how this looks like, but I just felt this inner urge. And that's when I called and came across Guru Jagat, my teacher, who unfortunately passed away already at a quite young age.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And she just propelled me on this path. And I was like, wow, this is the first time I hear somebody speaking my language, you know, speaking about spirituality, and in a very modern and accessible way, in a way that is not, you know, the Tibetan yogi spaced out and doing nothing. So I keep speaking a little bit, you know, exaggerated, but like, I'm living in this world, in this reality, in this system. We all gotta make some money. Life is moving fast. We don't have much time. There's so many things going on, and we need to take care of and think about. It's stressful. And Kundalini yoga was just like, wow, in such short amount of time, I have such big results. Wow. And feel so good. And at the same time, have this expanded consciousness and ever growing understanding of who I am and life around me.
Sign me up.
Yes.
I'm in.
I'm, you know, this is very undisclosed yet, but this is what I'm working on, and opening a studio in Ostuni.
Oh, yes. Great. So we're going to have loads of people from the UK saying, hey, we want to go to your session, hopefully. So yes. After this, obviously, I'll add in all your handles and everything. So also, retreats I've seen on Instagram, and I'm really gutted that I hadn't kind of booked one earlier, and I'm hoping you'll continue to do these.
For sure.
Talk us through what your retreats look like. How long are they? What type of things are you looking at? Is it mind, body? You know, how does it look?
It's a complete experience of 5 days of coming out fully rejuvenated, clear, and full of energy, knowing exactly how you move forward into your next chapter. So we really look at, there is yoga, there is mindfulness practices, there are meditations, there is nutrition plays a big part. There are workshops that inspire you to think differently about areas in your life. There's ceremonies, there is community and connection. People that come to my retreats are really from all over the world and from all walks of life and different ages, so it's very, very inspiring.
Oh, wow, sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And with the types of, you know, people that you're working with, are you completely international then? So have you got people in England? Have you got people in America? Have you got people in Italy? How does it work? Do people find you via social media or?
Yes. Being German mother tongue but Italian citizen, and having studied in English, I fully coach in these 3 languages.
So cool.
German, Italian, and English. I speak a little bit of Spanish and French, and literally my clients are from all over the world. I feel so grateful for this work, and that's the magic of the internet. It's the magic of, you know, having traveled and being in all of these different places, and also really connecting with everyone. I'm so curious about people in general. You know, I'm really curious about your purpose, your mission, and how you can fully express yourself in your fullest expression. be the happiest version of yourself. And so that allowed me to connect with people all ages, all cultures, and yeah,
So
it's very
cool.
rewarding.
So cool. I mean,
I have the honor to work with the coolest people.
I mean, do you have like any, I guess, success stories of someone you've worked with? Maybe they showed up, and you don't need to disclose any kind of personal information, of course. But anyone, you know, have they come and they've been really kind of rock bottom, and what's the kind of dream ending? Do you have that fairy tale story for us? If not, don't worry.
I do, actually. I do. So I would say I don't, like, people come to me when they're ready to fly.
Okay, yeah.
So you will feel ready to, you know, go into that next version and upgrade. And that's where I come in and really help you build that confidence to fly. So I don't work with, you know, I'm not a therapist. I'm really a coach and guide and mentor. And but the fairy tale story is one of my dream clients. She is a beautiful soul from the... I'll not give too many details, but this person tried to commit suicide, and is a brilliant mind, a beautiful soul, and she is completely transformed. She came to several of my retreats. We also did coaching together, and just recently she has completely changed location to the other side of the world.
Wow.
Is engaged, has found the love of her life, is spreading mental health and good vibes to the world, and is just the happiest person.
I mean, there we go. You just gave it to us. Thank you.
I'm grateful for her.
And I was going to go into a little bit more about spirituality. I know you touched on it then when you said your teacher, when she was teaching you Kundalini, did it in a, you know, an approachable way that wasn't too kind of airy-fairy. And that's kind of, I guess, my take on it, where my mum's always been very much a spiritual mind. She's had so many different, like, you know, tarot Bibles and
cool.
witch books and Reiki healing when I was stressed from my exams and things like that. So it's been something that's been in my life. But then you kind of go through points where it's a bit embarrassing to be spiritual. When I was younger, it was like, oh, okay, like you're a hippie. And so you kind of close yourself off from it for a while until you're ready to revisit that again. But as an adult now, I kind of feel it more than ever, and especially since we've changed our mindset, and you know, we're seeing more signs in the world. So when I started the podcast, it was like everywhere I looked, I kept on seeing 1111 flashing everywhere, to the point where I'd be like in a conversation with a random person. Both of us obviously would have our phones in our bags because it's rude to be on your phone whilst you're chatting to someone, right? And then at that point, they would get their phone out, put it this way, and then press it, and it's like 11:11. I'm just like, and I'm trying to be present with them, but also just like, what the hell is going on here? And then, you know, just like flashing up, and then it feels like I've kind of now graduated to the 222s, and I'm like, what is going on here, you know? And now Christian, who he's here, listeners, my husband, he got told once that his third eye was closed, and so we were like, oh my god. And so for ages he hadn't really been seeing anything, but now he's on the 111 train with, you know. So I wanted to see whether you've seen any like signs from the universe, or when you're kind of moving in a direction, i.e. Puglia was that direction for you quite evidently, you know, was there any signs that reinforced that decision, or was it just like you just knew?
I love it. No, I don't know how to answer this question.
Sorry.
I really don't know how to answer this question, because I feel my life is full of signs.
Okay.
Everywhere there is signs, and this is really the shift in consciousness that you experience. You just start, when you start to awaken, you start to really see the magic in every moment and in every person and in everything, and the sacredness and the magic. Combined with an abundance mindset that literally anything is possible, and that I'm worthy of my best life, that made me follow this little voice that just said, here you gotta be, and you have arrived, and this is your place. And there, I don't have any family here. I didn't know anybody here. There was literally zero connection.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wow.
Other than, for me, reason enough was it's beautiful. It's out of my vision board color palette. The blue, the white, the green. And I feel good. The sun is great. People are happy. I'm like, what else do I need?
Yeah.
What other confirmations do I need to know that this is the right thing for me? This is it.
Absolutely.
If it makes you happy, if you're lit up, if you can enjoy it, if you can see the beauty in it, you're in the right place. And we can find it anywhere. Just to be clear. But yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
But I'm curious, can I ask you?
Yeah, of course.
Because you mentioned before you saw the 1111 and then you upgraded to the 22s.
Yeah.
How do you perceive, is there a difference in the numbers? You give it a different interpretation?
Well, I think 111, from what I've read online and been on TikTok and stuff.
It's for the beginners.
It's entry level.
Entry level.
Oh, yeah.
So it's saying, okay, your third eye's open, your abundance mindset, it's going to work for you. The path that you're on, this is my interpretation, is keep doing it. So whether you've got, family that aren't around anymore and they're trying to show you a sign to say, keep going, this is what's supposed to be for you. So that's what I saw it as. And I didn't actually know for 222, actually. I think maybe it's like, I have no idea. I really don't know.
But this proves the point that it's not
sorry.
so much about whatever somebody says about what these numbers mean or these signs mean. It shows you that you have shifted your perception and that you notice these signs more than before, and that means that you're simply more aware of yourself and the surrounding and their interaction. And this is really what I would say, like, follow your inner voice. Like, if you feel good in a certain place, if it feels right, trust that. That is your sign. And it can be different for anyone. It can be different. That we can manifest in different ways.
I think that's especially for myself, like I've known or had this inner kind of voice and longing forever to explore. I love Europe. When I was 19, I lived in Australia. I met so many amazing Europeans in Australia. My best friends were European. They weren't Australian for some reason, but that's just how it happened. And I just had an affinity with people that I met from Europe and their lifestyles and Australia, I was 19, I was away from family for like a year and a half. So I came back and lived a fantastic life in the UK, and it is still wonderful. But I know deep down in my soul, I love being by the ocean. I love being in nature, and I love just being in a lovely warm climate.
I feel you.
But then you constantly, I feel like I'm questioning that all the time, in terms of like my gut feeling. And I think that's probably what you listeners might be at home. If there's something that you've always longed to do, or in your gut that's suited to you, or if someone says, oh yeah, that would suit you, it's probably because it actually does. And I guess that's something that I'm currently working on, is my want to seek external validation and trying to pull that out of whatever belief system I learned it from. And try and say, what's right for you. But sometimes we just end up asking everyone else if it's right for us, and then take all that advice on when actually they don't know. Yes.
And they cannot know, and we are the only ones that know for ourselves. That's why I would highly recommend engaging in some spiritual practice, or even just a ritual, just being with yourself, because the more you spend time by yourself, the more you can listen to your inner voice and your thoughts and become aware of it. And that's why I love Kundalini yoga, for another reason why I love it so much, because it just fine-tunes this inner dialogue with your soul. And we want to be a clear channel, and clear out all these noise, all of these voices and these opinions that have over the years really made their way inside of us into our consciousness. And we think that we believe that, or we think that this is what we believe and think, but actually, is it? or is it maybe somebody else's belief and thought? So at the beginning of your journey, of my journey, I was unlearning so much. I was just on a path of unlearning, like trying to forget what I've been told, unlearn what I've been educated and trained to do, to really come to a neutral place and neutrality, a clear point, a pure point, the essence, and then from there intentionally like choose and just go with what feels good.
I mean, that sounds incredible, and it makes a lot of sense actually to bring it back down to neutral, because there's so many years of all these different layers of belief systems that we've been taught. And I feel as though I'm tapping away at them at the moment, but I definitely wouldn't say that I'm neutral yet, you know. How do you unlearn something? You know, how do you actually unlearn something? Is it just retraining your mindset, meditating on what you do want to be, or... Because that just seems so hard.
It is. I'm sorry to say it is hard. It's like it's the healing journey. It's really looking at, like, learning to be comfortable with the uncomfortable is one of my favorite quotes as well, because it tells us to stay with emotions that we usually don't like to be with. So if you're angry at something, or if you feel sadness, you don't want to feel that way, but try to inquire and be compassionate with yourself and really inquire where does the sadness come from. And the more you can be in this uncomfortable state, the more you will learn about where it originated. And maybe it can be, I'm a very sensitive soul, meaning that I feel a lot, and I feel also other people's energies. And as a child, I have been exposed to this, and I didn't have the awareness, and my parents didn't have the awareness. So oftentimes I would feel down or depressed, and it wasn't because I actually felt this way, but it was because I was surrounded by these energies, and I made them mine unknowingly. And there I found myself, right? So maybe this is good news for some. Just, you know, don't identify. We should not identify with everything that we feel, and really just try to observe in a neutral way. This is very powerful. If you're able to feel whatever you feel, and zoom out and detach from it and don't identify with it, then you let it dissolve. It loses its power over you. Energy and emotion is energy in motion. That's another beautiful way to see it. It can literally move through your system, and that's again why I love Kundalini's yoga so much, because you move the energy through your chakras, your energy centers, your body, to get to a neutral place, to a happy place, you know, because we're all intrinsically the happy child.
Yeah, so true. I mean, when you described yourself there as feeling, that is like my one thing, which I am such like a feeler. Like if I'm listening to music, I'll feel it. Beautiful. If I'm having a conversation, I'll feel it, you know. And it's sometimes can be extreme highs and extreme lows. And I think that's such a beautiful way to look at it. You know, there are times where you feel low and you're like, oh, I'm a miserable person, and you give yourself that label, and then it can be stuck in there. But as you say, I love that. So emotions are, what was the saying again?
Energy in motion. Love
that. So good.
Yeah, and especially as women, I know that you, this is your path, and this is really, we really are cyclical beings. We're not linear. That means that we go every month through a cycle of death and rebirth. And when you're dying or when you have your period, there's just nothing fun about it.
No.
Let's be honest. You're bleeding. You're losing blood. You're low in energies. You have nothing to... you know, it's just affects your hormones, and the hormones affect your state of mind. And if we drop the pressure of having to be happy in that moment, or having to continue our work performance in the same way we did 3 weeks ago, if we drop that pressure, everything becomes, it can actually be beautiful. It can be a moment of deep insight, of just meditation, of kind of like being a bit high, and you're just like, okay, these shall pass too. And you have this natural give a F attitude, you know, and
totally.
it goes by, and it can be very, very beautiful to see it this way.
Yeah, no, honestly, for some reason, when you were like talking about that, I kind of even like had a visualization when you were saying that and imagining like, I guess the stress and like kind of almost being on a boat and watching another boat go past, and like it's just like you are the other boat and like watching it just go past and being like, that's okay, it's passing, no worries. And because it can feel, you know, when you are a sudden, you know, fit of anger or depression or low mood, it can feel so consuming in that moment. And I think that's where bad and reckless decisions can come from, and then afterwards you end up beating yourself up for maybe the decision that you made in that
moment.
Yeah, in that moment. So I think the way that you describe that is really imagery focused almost for me. I can imagine that, and I think that's good in terms of like retraining your mindset. So I think that's really helpful. Thank you. And so, I mean, is there anything more that you think, you know, the audience should know about you in terms of your story, in terms of anything that you feel that you've learned throughout your own journey that you want to share today? And I know that's a broad question, but anything that's happened.
Yeah, I thank you for asking that. I would love to share that and the reason why mostly women love to work with me is because I really embody and merge two seemingly opposing worlds, the entrepreneurial world and the very spiritual or purpose-driven world. So it has become my philosophy of life and also of coaching and entrepurpose, which is really this connection within and who we are and what our unique gifts and superpowers are, and then really bringing that into the world. Like, how can you self-realize yourself or self-actualize to your fullest happiest version through getting into action and doing that thing and going after that dream. And I just want to tell everybody it's possible, and if you feel in a low, it might just be the beginning of reminding you that there's more for you out there, and that you're allowed and invited to inquire and be curious about what that is, and just enjoy this path. And yeah, what we think is normal is not normal. Let me tell you, it's the opposite of it.
So true.
And I think it might seem very contrasting when you see people living in abundance, in nature and in freedom, or these digital nomads. But actually, there's so many different realities, and there's not just one normal, but there's so many different ways of living. And I just want to encourage everybody to follow and find out what that unique way is for themselves.
I think that's an amazing way to finish today. This has been a huge learning curve for me, because I've loved this. This is so much more incredible, just sitting down and doing it face to face. So I feel so lucky. And the weird thing was, I know we reached out a while ago, and then I was like, oh, okay, I need to kind of get, because I've been on holiday mode and doing things around the house, and everything's been crazy here. And then I went on your profile and I looked at your retreat thing. I was like, oh, you know, I really would love to meet up with Greta. I've only got a few days now though. And then within the space of 5 minutes,
oh my God,
DM from you, and I was just like, are you serious? I was like, come on over.
Here I am. 24 hours or 48 hours later. It's amazing.
So listeners, seriously, if you want to find out more about Greta's work, I'll make sure to do that in the outro notes of this show, and put them also in all the footer as well, and all of the info, because seriously, I want to work with you now. I want to come to your classes in Ostuni when studios open, retreats, sign me up.
Yay!
And yeah, so thank you so much. It's been an amazing experience.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
so glad you were the first in-person one.
Yeah, I feel grateful and blessed for that. Thank you so much, and I'm so happy to know you here in Puglia.
Yay!
Yay!
Yay! Oh, awesome! Yay, that was so good.
Oh, it was such a beautiful